The richest man in history wasn't a billionaire. He wasn't a king from Europe, and he didn't live in modern times. He was an African emperor. And when he traveled across the desert in the 1300s, he carried so much gold, he accidentally changed the economy of an entire region. Cities had never seen wealth like it. Markets reacted, prices shifted, and people began to ask one question: where did all that gold come from? His name was Mansa Musa, and his story would force the world to look toward a place it had long ignored. Long before global markets, before modern finance, a powerful empire was rising in West Africa. The Mali Empire stretched across vast lands south of the Sahara Desert. Rivers cut through fertile terrain. Trade routes connected distant regions. Cities grew along the paths of commerce. But beneath this land was something far more valuable: gold. Not small amounts, not scattered deposits, but vast reserves that would shape the economy of the medieval world. Caravans moved slowly across the Sahara. Lines of camels stretched beyond the horizon. Each one carried gold northward, toward North Africa, toward the Mediterranean, toward Europe. And for centuries, much of the world's gold passed through this region. Yet beyond these trade networks, much of the world barely knew it existed, until one man changed that forever. Around the year 1312, a new ruler rose to power. His name was Mansa Musa. Mansa, emperor. He inherited an empire already rich, but under his rule, it would reach its peak. Territories expanded, trade intensified, cities grew larger, wealthier, more connected. Gold flowed through the empire in staggering quantities, so much that even today, historians struggle to measure his wealth. Some believe, if converted to modern value, his fortune could surpass any billionaire in history. But wealth alone does not create legend. What Musa did next would shock you. In 1324, Mansa Musa set out on a journey, a pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca. But this was no ordinary pilgrimage. Thousands traveled with him. Soldiers moved in formation. Servants carried supplies under the desert sun. Officials, scholars, and attendants followed closely. And then, the camels, hundreds of them, each one loaded with gold, gold dust, gold bars, gold carried across the desert in quantities the world had never seen. As the caravan moved, it stretched across the horizon, a moving display of unimaginable wealth. And everywhere they stopped, Musa gave. He gave to the poor, to leaders, to strangers who had never seen him before. Gold flowed freely. At first, it felt like a blessing. But when Musa arrived in Cairo, something changed. Cairo was one of the greatest cities of the time, a center of trade, culture, and power. And suddenly, gold was everywhere. Too much gold. Its value began to fall. Prices rose, markets shifted. What seemed like generosity became economic disruption. For years, Cairo felt the effects. One man had altered the value of gold across an entire region, and the world took notice. But Musa's legacy was not only about wealth. When he returned home, he began to build. Mosques rose across the empire. Scholars were invited. Knowledge was supported, and one city began to transform, Timbuktu. It became a center of learning. Libraries filled with manuscripts. Students arrived from distant lands. Ideas were exchanged, preserved, expanded. For generations, Timbuktu stood as one of the greatest intellectual centers in the world, a place where knowledge, not gold, defined power. After Mansa Musa's death, the empire remained strong. But over time, things began to change. Trade routes shifted, rival powers rose. Gradually, the influence of Mali declined. But Musa's story did not fade. The story of Mansa Musa is not just about wealth. It is about influence, about connection, about a world far more linked than we often imagine. At a time when many regions struggled, the Mali Empire stood as a center of power, trade, and knowledge. And one man, through a single journey, forced the world to see it. The richest man in history did more than accumulate wealth. He reshaped economies, he changed global perception, and he left behind a legacy that still challenges how we understand history today.